I know I'm a single white male from South Carolina, and I'm told I should shut up, but I will not shut up if that's okay, because I got here the same way everybody else did. The people in South Carolina voted for me and Senator Scott to be their voice, men and women, and I'm going to try to be their voice today, and maybe not just for South Carolina, but a little bit about what I think is going on here. Joe Biden, I can't believe we're saying this on our side. Listen to Joe. But Joe was right a lot. Joe Biden's a unique guy. If you had one last conversation before you die, you'd want to have it with Joe. You'd be around for a while. He's a decent guy. If he runs for president, he'd be hard to beat. He came to Senator Thurman's funeral and gave a long eulogy. And I asked him, Joe, I said, that was incredible. This can't help you in Delaware. He said, I just like the old guy. I didn't agree with him, and I didn't like some of the things he did in his life, but when I was down and out, he was there for me. And to my colleagues on the other side, this will end, and we'll see what we do next. I hope we can muster the ability to move forward. But some observations about where we find ourselves and how we got here. I wrote a book, and I think Senator Blumenthal is the only person I know that actually read it. It was online. I ran for president, and I got 1%, so I've had my time to be president. Didn't go very far, and I lost. I didn't think Trump would win. I ran out of adjectives to describe about how I felt about his campaign. Well, he won and I lost, and he's president. And I'll try to help him where I can and say no when I must, and the election's over for me. I would like to tell him that you had a choice to make for the Supreme Court vacancy of Justice Kennedy. I think you did a good job, Mr. President. For somebody who's supposedly crazy and there's chaos everywhere, he did a good job here. Now, why difference between Gorsuch and Kennedy? Gorsuch and Kavanaugh. It's the Kennedy seat. If you don't get that, you're not paying much attention. Gorsuch is a even swap for Scalia. But this is high-stakes stuff, right? This is the seat where the guy in the middle is at risk. Kavanaugh clerked for Justice Kennedy. Would you have picked him? No. But you lost the election. And that does have consequences. When I said it about Obama winning, I meant it. Merrick Garland. Scalia dies in the election year, the last year of the term of President Obama. The primaries are already underway. Not in 100 years has anybody been nominated under that circumstance, so I don't think I did anything unfair with Garland. As to Sotomayor and Kagan, I was told on our side, you've got to keep them off the court because they're going to be a pro-choice vote. They hate guns. On and on and on. And I tried to go back to what this committee used to do. Strom Thurmond voted for Ginsburg. You'll never convince me that it was because he agreed with her philosophy. I think he saw in her a qualified person. Fritz Hollings voted for Scalia. The same is true. 96 and 97 votes. What's happened? Most of the nominees to the Supreme Court have never had a hearing. It was always just assumed if they're qualified and they're not hacks, that they're going to go forward. Elections do matter. When it comes to President Trump, elections do matter. Now, about the law, and to my friends who have been prosecutors. I've been a prosecutor, I've been a defense attorney, and I've been a judge. Every woman who's been victimized needs to be heard. Count me in 1,000 times over. Count me in for the proposition for every one woman who comes forward, only God knows how many women and children go to their grave with the abuse. If you don't realize that, you just don't know this area of life. But you're going to be heard in the United States. I had a young man accused of sexual assault when I was in the Air Force as a defense attorney. The case eventually fell apart, and he almost killed himself. I had women who've been gang raped and didn't want to testify, but they did. Along with counselors, I sat up with them all night. Tough stuff. Emotional. Who to believe? I've been doing this legal stuff most of my life. I've never heard a more compelling defense of one's honor and integrity than I did from Brett Kavanaugh. He looked me in the eye, everybody in the eye, and he was mad, and he should have been mad. He could tell you where he was at and what he was doing during high school in a way that just blew me away. Brett Kavanaugh and women. If you're a gang rapist when you're a sophomore and a junior in high school, you don't let it go. Every woman who actually knows Brett Kavanaugh has come forward to say he is not that kind of guy. He has been at the highest level of public service, under tremendous scrutiny, 6 FBI investigations, and we missed the sophomore, junior gang rapist. We didn't miss it. It's a bunch of garbage. We're in the twilight zone, and here's what I would say. Miss Ford. All I can say about Miss Ford, I feel sorry for her, and I do believe something happened to her, and I don't know when and where, but I don't believe it was Brett Kavanaugh. And as a prosecutor, you couldn't get out of the batter's box, because in America, before you can accuse somebody of a crime, you have to tell them when it happened and where it happened, and you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt it did happen. The reason this case will never be brought in Maryland or anywhere else, you just can't get there. If you wanted to get a warrant, which is a probable cause standard, to search or arrest somebody, you got to prove by probable cause where it happened and when it happened. How are you supposed to defend yourself? Is the burden really on you to prove that you were not at a party 35 years ago and they won't tell you where it was and when it was? So all I can say is that under any reasonable standard, any concept of the rule of law, this would not go forward. There have been 5 allegations here. The 5th allegation was brought to me by Senator Whitehouse, who did absolutely the right thing. Somebody contacted him in Rhode Island and said, a friend of his was on a boat with Mark Judge and Brett Kavanaugh, and they treated her badly. He went down and beat him up, and she won't come forward. I said, well, I'll make sure I'll join with you. Let the FBI look at it. And turned out not to be true. The 4th allegation was an anonymous allegation, a letter without a date or a return address sent to Corey Gardner just a few days ago. And he turned it over to the committee, and somebody on that side leaked it to NBC News, and it made it on the news, the 4th allegation. That really bothers me. I don't know what's going on over there, but that's not right. It was somebody over there. Now, about Miss Ford. I feel really bad that she wanted to remain anonymous and could not. The one thing I know for sure is that Dianne Feinstein would not do this and did not do this. But I know for sure somebody did. It wasn't chatter from a friend. 3 groups had this letter that was requested to be anonymous. Dianne Feinstein and her staff, the congresswoman from California and her staff, and the lawyers. Somebody betrayed her trust, and if you can't figure out why, you shouldn't be driving. To delay this hearing, to set in motion the destruction of this man, to keep this seat open past the election. That I know beyond any doubt. What else do I know? I about fell out of my chair when Dr. Ford said yesterday, I didn't know you would be willing to come to me. The email interactions between this committee and her lawyers, my staff would still welcome the opportunity to speak with Dr. Ford at any time and any place convenient to her. Come to us or we to you. I'm willing to have my staff travel to Dr. Ford in California or anywhere else to obtain her testimony, September the 19th. Well, that wouldn't fit in the plan. It wouldn't be public, and it would get over with sooner than people wanted. I don't know what to believe, but I tend to believe that Dr. Ford did not know about this invitation. And I've been a lawyer most of my adult life, and somebody needs to ask the question to her lawyers, how could she not know about this? Are you beginning to understand what's been going on for a very long time in this case? It's not that hard to figure out. So if this is the new standard, the accusation proves itself to those who want to ask questions. You hate women. God help us all. If the new standard for the committee is that there is no presumption of anything, that you have to prove why somebody would accuse you, not just say, I didn't do it, and here's why I didn't do it, but you got to prove the motives of your accuser. God help us all. The Avenatti moment tells you what's going to happen if we keep this farce going. Plenty of time, plenty of opportunities to get to the truth. This has never been about the truth. This has been about delay and destruction. And if we reward this, it is the end of good people wanting to be judges. It is the end of any concept of the rule of law. It's the beginning of a process that will tear this country apart. And if I am chairman next year, if we keep the majority and Senator Grassley moves over, and I hope he doesn't because I think he's done a great job, I'm going to remember this. There's the process before Kavanaugh and the process after Kavanaugh. If you want to vet the nominee, you can. If you want to delay things for the next election, you will not. If you try to destroy somebody, you will not get away with it. And Jeff is leaving. He has wrestled with this. He is trying to be fair. I cannot tell you, Jeff, what happened 35 years ago. I can tell you this, that through any legal system, this thing would not get out of the batter's box, and that everything I know about Judge Kavanaugh screams that this didn't happen, and all the other things. So, to my good friends on the other side who are struggling, I think an FBI investigation is going to do nothing. It's not going to tell you any more than we know now. It's going to just keep it going and going and going till he breaks and he won't, until the next 5 come forward. I'm going to vote yes. And I'm going to tell his 2 daughters that I'm proud of your dad, and I really, really believe he's a good man. And I'm going to tell Dr. Ford, I am sorry you had to go through this too.
Senator